Hello friends and fellow aliens, my name is David. Welcome to this channel. I am an INFJ, I'm an author. I talk about stuff like being an INFJ and being an author. And today I want to talk about why INFJs can be kind of confusing. Actually, 3 reasons why INFJs can be confusing to other people and some of the mechanisms behind we kind of confuse ourselves a lot too. So I want to dig into this a little bit and just explore three different things that I was thinking about in ways that it becomes kind of difficult to be an INFJ, and to an outside observer, we can be a little weird. This video is brought to you by my book. I know, I talk about it all the time. I'm self-published. I have to, because I am my own marketing department. So if you like to read, or if you don't, I would appreciate it if you picked up the book. This is a 350-page story. It is a supernatural fiction story with an INFJ main character and all sorts of cool stuff in there, exploring themes of love and death and lots of stuff. Plus, it's also just cool, and I wrote it, so I would appreciate it. It is available on Amazon, and you can pick it up, give it a read, give it a review if you have read it. Reviews are fantastic. I love seeing the Amazon reviews go on there. At current, I think I'm somewhere around 115 reviews, and it's got 5 stars. So please, pretty please, if you can support this channel, pick up the book. If not, and you want to buy me a cup of coffee, links in the description. I would appreciate it very, very much. It's a great way to help this channel if I, in some way, have ever helped you. So thank you. So 3 reasons, 3 ways that INFJs can be confusing to deal with, or confusing to other people, or can appear confusing or paradoxical in some way. Reason number 1 on my list is the fact that we tend to be extroverted introverts. It's kind of the ultimate INFJ paradox in a lot of ways. Now look, I say this all the time. Every INFJ is different. You are an individual first. You are an INFJ second or third or whatever. The point is, you have a set of cognitive functions, and they are on a scale. So it is very possible for one INFJ to be more extreme of an introvert than another. Our personal experiences, our upbringing, all of these things make a difference in who you are and how you interact with everything around you. So it's important to keep that in mind. I'm making some generalizations here because we tend to have some of the same traits as INFJs, but it doesn't necessarily apply to all of us. So when I talk about being an extroverted introvert, this tends to have something a little bit to do with our need to extrovert, our need to feel emotions, to feel things, and to read people. Remember that FE is high up in your cognitive function stack. That's your extroverted feeling, and that is the harmony and feelings of other people and people around you. It's why sometimes for us it can feel really good, almost cathartic in a way, to help somebody out with issues that they're having and help them talk through it. We're very good at that. I'm going to get to more of that a little bit later in this video. But that extroverted introversion, or that introverted extrovert, whichever one you want to call it, it becomes important, and it becomes something that people can see as very paradoxical, because we can appear very outward and very outgoing for brief periods of time before we get overwhelmed and we got to close it up and pack it in, and it's time to go home and snuggle the cat and make the tea and not answer the phone, which I don't really answer the phone all the time anyway, but you know what I mean. It's this constant tug of war between needing to extrovert and needing to recharge from any extroverting. So we have to have some of that extroversion taking place. We have to have that thing with other people. A lot of INFJs tend to be very idealistic. We tend to want to help people, save people, fix things, create more harmony in the world. Well, how can you do that if the only way you're able to recharge is by shutting everything off and getting the hell out of Dodge? Another way this can be perceived as paradoxical in such a way is that when we do get comfortable with a group or with different people that are in our lives, we have a tendency to overshare. There is a bit of an awkward moment that happens with a lot of INFJs when we're in a newer group where we know some of the people, but not all, where you're going to just be hanging out with somebody and hi, how are you? And hi, how are you? And here comes the small talk, which granted, majority of us dread for the most part. And then you'll just come out and say something like, well, so I like quantum mechanics and I like studying the deep ocean. And they might not, they're just like, do you want a beer? So there's some different things that you have a tendency to do because we want that deeper connection with people. We want to be able to extrovert. We're not quite comfortable yet, but then when we get there and we find that person that can reciprocate some of those thoughts and ideas and things that we like to talk about, we can absolutely overshare. And so this appears confusing to a lot of people because they're like, well, you don't answer the phone and you don't want to hang out, but when you do, you get a little bit comfortable and you don't shut up about like some of the weirdest stuff ever. But this is how we do things. It makes sense for us in this way. We're extroverting. It's time to extrovert. It's time to get some of those words and those feelings and those interactions out and just get it all over with in a way. And then it's time to go home for a week or 2 or 3 or for however long and be in our own space, in our own world where we are much more comfortable and happier and recharging because extroverting can be exhausting for us. I think it's true, just to wrap up this point, that a lot of people say that INFJs tend to be confused with extroverts. And it is because we have that need to be involved with other people. We have that need, that extroverted feeling really does hit on us where we need to understand and kind of view and make sense of emotions on other people or in other groups. And that is such an extroverted thing, but we are exhausted by that at the same time. So it is a reason that people can find us a little confusing. Number 2 on my list of 3 reasons that INFJs can appear pretty confusing, and I'm going to put a graphic up of Patrick from SpongeBob, which will perfectly illustrate what I think. This is one of the rare times, look, you guys know what I think about INFJ memes. I'm not a big fan, but this one hits the mark and it's funny and I really like it. We can be very intuitive and we can read people very well, but we can also be pretty damn gullible and I mean almost just straight up like idiotic when it comes to ourselves and what's best for us. If you are not an INFJ and you have a friend who is an INFJ, a lot of times if you have a good relationship with that person, they will be more than happy to sit down, to listen to your issues, to talk you through it, to provide different perspectives, and to really dig in and understand what's going on. We do, as INFJs, have a knack for digging into somebody's issues and for helping them see some perspectives to really give them some guidance. In a lot of ways, it can be sage-like. And you know how I am about using these terms that we don't have superpowers, we're not Jedis or anything like that. But our intuition and our ability to read people is definitely a thing. And majority of INFJs will absolutely have that sort of thing in common. We are good at that. We are good at reading people and those things external. But then, when that situation is close to us, we just sit there like, duh. And it comes off as us. It's like we're the dumbest smart people around, right? Like, we can call somebody out. Like, look, I only met this person for like 5-10 minutes and saw them interact, but I picked up on all sorts of things. My gut is telling me something. Like, I don't think that's a healthy person. But then there could be somebody close to you where your emotions are involved and you feel a certain way about them and you don't see any of that. You are completely and totally blind to it. And that kind of sucks. And it is confusing. So why is that? I can blame some cognitive function stuff on this, right? We have our introverted intuition, that gut feeling that we get about people. We are on a subconscious level reading their body language, the tone of their voice, and kind of, in a way, detecting some motivations that may exist. I have absolutely read people that way and been very, very accurate. on first impressions with different people, especially when it came to running a business where I had a lot of people coming in and out of the door and having to deal with very personal relationships with those people in terms of teaching them martial arts, which is a very personal journey. So your FE is high. Your intuition, obviously, that's your dominant function. Your auxiliary function is literally just that. It's the emotions and the feelings and all those things of other people. But then you have your own FI. I've done a video on this recently. I'll try to link it. I hope I'm pointing it. I always point the wrong way. It's up there somewhere. Where your own FI is in your shadow stack, and it can be very critical, and it is how you are feeling about certain situations, not like your gut feeling, but how you truly feel about something. That combination makes it really difficult. It makes it so, yeah, we can read a situation from an external point of view very accurately. But when we are involved in that situation, here comes the overthinking, here comes the critical FI, your critical parent, and all of the confusion that happens because of it. And so a lot of times you will hear people say to INFJs, or you may know an INFJ who is just, it's that person that everybody would go to for advice to get things straightened out, to really understand. And people have said to me, certainly numerous times, like, I feel so much better talking to you through this because you have such a perspective about it. I've had friends being like, I need some time with my INFJ guru just to try and talk through this because you really help me understand things. And I love that. And I love that about INFJs in general. But then when I sit there and I'm trying to figure out how I feel about something, I might as well nail that plank to the front of my face, because it just becomes very difficult to separate. And that is why on some different videos, I've told you that one of the ways I like to do that, just to try and analyze my own situation, is to really step back as far back as I can and almost pretend that I am somebody else. And then what kind of objective advice would I give that person in an identical situation, trying to remove myself from it. One of the most difficult things we can do is be honest with ourselves when it comes to telling ourselves something that we don't want to hear. I hope that's not terribly confusing. It made sense in my brain. Hopefully it makes sense here as well. This is part of the reason where INFJs tend to feel very triggered, that we are very susceptible to narcissists and manipulative people, because we offer the benefit of the doubt. We want harmony. We want people to be happy. We don't want the confrontation and the conflict and all those different things. We would much rather have it so, like, everybody's cool, everybody's happy, I can introvert again, and like we're all good. And so when you're continually giving other people the benefit of the doubt, it makes it easy for somebody to manipulate you. And as an INFJ, it's very difficult to crawl out of that hole, because it is difficult to ask yourself for advice, stepping away from the situation, and to actually take that advice. Number 3 on my list, why INFJs can appear very confusing to those around them, is the fact that we live in this world, but we exist in this world. We're very internal, and we have a very vivid internal landscape. My favorite moments are when I can just kind of chill and let my imagination run wild. For me, in terms of writing, in terms of world building, all of these things are fun and fantastical, and I love living in a world that's not this one. I mean, this is fine. Like, I can go get, pizza and donuts and stuff, and I can't really do that in my vivid internal world. But there's a peace that comes with living in my head and in my imagination, because I can easily control it and I can shape it the way I want. And I'm just very, very comfortable there. But when it comes to the external world, so to speak, you're talking about different personalities and different emotions and different activities and different behaviors from people that can be very unpredictable, and that can be pretty scary. And it is hard for us to manifest our vivid internal world in this one that's right in front of us in actual reality. This is one of the reasons that I think that INFJs tend to be much better with written words than we are with speaking words. And a lot of that is because in our internal world, we can put ourselves through any kind of a scenario. We can imagine something, we can live through it in a safe way. This is our safe spaces in between our ears, so to speak. But once we say something, especially if it's something very important or something directed towards your feelings for another person, it can become very scary because once it's out, it's out. It's not malleable anymore. Those words have been spoken. They have been said. They have hit somebody else's ears. They are in this world that we exist in, not this world that we're living in. I think this is a big reason why INFJs can imagine all of these scenarios, especially if it's somebody that we really like, right? We can imagine scenarios where we are with that person, where we are doing things together, where life is together and all of these different things, because we just build it right inside of our own. It's like we're Sims in our own head, and we can just make everything the way we want to make it, and everything is cool and everybody's happy. But in that external world, it becomes a bit more difficult to do so because we don't know how people are going to react, and we can't walk something back that we've said, not without seeming like we're wishy-washy or contradictory, and thus very, very confusing. Perfect example of this is if somebody likes you and you're the INFJ and they're like, well, how do you feel about me? And you have to sit there and be like, I like when there's time where we're spending it together. And I mean, I guess you're like, I like, so yeah. Does that make sense? Like that's what you would hear out of an INFJ, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But it's because we're almost afraid to manifest those words in the real world because we know we can't erase them, change them, or whatever before they hit someone else's ears. That's why texting is wonderful for an INFJ, because we can take what our thought is, move it around, shape it, make it exactly what we want, and then send it when it is perfect to us. Which is why also, if you're angry and you're an INFJ, you should probably just do that whole like shut up and count to 10 thing before you say something, or give it a little bit of time, because you do need time to run that through your internal world before you release that. Otherwise, there might be some regret over some of the things that you're saying. So folks, those are my 3 things. 3 reasons that INFJs can appear confusing to others. Say something in the comments, let me know what you thought about my list, or if you have other ones that you would like to add, and certainly talk with each other down there, because everybody's got their own things as to why they might be confusing. And hey, you might find some people that are confusing for the same exact reasons that you feel you are as well. We're all getting through this together, my sweet, sweet INFJs. So thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you very, very soon.